Most women spend thousands of pounds and hundreds of hours trying to look perfect for a man, but the truth is, a high-value man isn't looking for a polished statue. He is looking for a safe harbor with a pulse. Men don't fall in love with your perfection, they fall in love with your micro-authenticity. Today I'm revealing 7 tiny, unpolished, and arguably clumsy things you do that actually make a man melt mentally. If you've ever felt like you had to be on all the time to keep his interest, this video is going to be a massive relief for your soul. We've been told that to be attractive, we have to be on all the time. We have to be the CEO, the athlete, the perfect partner. But the truth is, a man doesn't melt for the version of you that has it all together. He melts for the version of you that falls apart just a little bit. Attraction isn't built in the big speeches, it's built in the micro moments. It's in those 7 cute, seemingly insignificant things you do that tell a man, I am a woman of standard, but I am also a woman of warmth. The first is the unfiltered laugh, not the polite social giggle, but the one that takes over your whole face. When you laugh without checking the mirror, you are showing opinion sovereignty. You are telling the world that your joy is self-sourced. And there is nothing more magnetic than a woman who is unashamed of her own happiness. Then there's the focus frown, that little look of intense concentration when you're working on something you love. This shows your moving train energy. It tells him that you have a legacy outside of him, and he's just a lucky passenger watching a master at work. Or the way you borrow his space, not out of neediness, but out of selective softness. Putting on his oversized hoodie isn't about the clothes, it's about signaling that he is your safe harbor. It triggers the possessive protector impulse in a way that feels like a reward, not a chore. The secret to these cute things isn't that they are pretty, it's that they are true. When you stop trying to be a solved mystery and start embracing the tiny, unpolished parts of your soul, you stop being someone he's dating and start being the only woman he can't imagine living without. Because perfection is a wall, but your quirks are the vulnerability bridge that lets him in, the authenticity spike. Why unpolished moments are your greatest asset in a digital age dominated by filters, curated feeds, and performed personalities. The most scarce and valuable commodity in the world of attraction is raw, unedited truth. Most dating advice focuses on polishing the statue, teaching you how to be more poised, more witty, and more perfect. However, high-status attraction operates on a counterintuitive principle, the authenticity spike. This is the sudden, sharp increase in a man's emotional investment when he witnesses a moment where your social mask slips, revealing the vibrant, unscripted woman underneath. The death of performance pressure. High-value men are constantly surrounded by performers. They interact with people who are auditioning for their attention, their resources, or their approval. This creates a state of perpetual performance pressure, where the man feels he must also stay behind his own mask of competence. The authenticity spike acts as a circuit breaker. When you allow yourself to be seen in an unpolished moment, whether it's a genuine, snorting laugh, a passionate rant about a hobby you love, or the way you look when you first wake up, you are demonstrating opinion sovereignty. You are signaling that your self-worth is not tied to his immediate aesthetic approval. This lack of auditioning energy is incredibly relaxing for a man. It tells his subconscious, this woman is a safe harbor. I don't have to perform here, because she isn't performing either. The selective softness of vulnerability, the power of the authenticity spike lies in the contrast. If a woman is unpolished all the time, it can signal a lack of standards. But when a woman who usually carries herself with sovereign presence and poise suddenly shows a quirk or a clumsy micro moment, it creates a vulnerability vacuum. Think of it as a selective softness. He sees the fortress of your high standards and your busy, moving train life. But then he sees the sanctuary of your real, messy human self. This contrast makes him melt, because it feels like a private gift. He feels that he is the only one who gets to see the unfiltered version of you. This turns you from a solved mystery into a lifetime discovery, triggering the investment anchor. These authentic spikes become the anchors of his attraction. A man doesn't build long-term devotion to a perfect resume or a flawless face. He builds it to the specific way you get focus frown when you're reading, or the way you trip over your words when you're excited. These are the details that create a respect dopamine loop. He begins to crave these moments of truth because they are the only times he feels a real soul-to-soul connection. By embracing the authenticity spike, you move away from the exhausting cycle of trying to be enough and move into the high status position of simply being. You aren't asking him to like your perfection, you are daring him to keep up with your reality. And for a high value man, that reality is the most intoxicating thing he has ever encountered. The vulnerability vacuum, the hidden force of irresistible pull. In the world of high status dating, most women are taught to build walls. We are told to be the ice queen, to never show weakness, and to keep our emotions under a lock and key of ironclad, sovereign presence. While maintaining standards is essential, a wall with no door is just a prison. The vulnerability vacuum is the high-status art of creating that door. It is the intentional, controlled release of your social mask that creates a psychological low-pressure zone, literally sucking a man into your emotional orbit. The physics of the pull in nature. A vacuum is a space that is empty of matter, and nature abhors a vacuum. It seeks to fill it. Human psychology works the same way. When you are always perfect, you are emotionally full. There is no room for a man to contribute, to protect, or to connect. You are a closed system. But when you demonstrate a moment of raw, unpolished vulnerability, a vulnerability vacuum, you create a space that he feels an instinctive, masculine urge to fill. This isn't about being a victim or needing a man to fix your life. That is low status behavior. The vulnerability vacuum is about selective softness. It's the moment you admit you're nervous about a big presentation, or the way you allow him to see you're genuinely moved by a movie. Because you are normally a moving train with high standards, this small crack in your armor acts as a massive signal of trust. It tells him, I don't let the world see this, but I am letting you see it. The mask of competence. Release. High-value men are exhausted by the world. They spend their days in a high-stakes environment where they must constantly wear a mask of competence. They have to be the provider, the fixer, and the winner. When they encounter a woman who can create a safe harbor through her own vulnerability, it gives them the subconscious permission to drop their own mask. When you share a quirk, a fear, or a small failure, you aren't showing weakness, you are showing opinion sovereignty. You are saying, I am so secure in my value that I don't need to be perfect to be worthy. This creates a respect dopamine loop. He respects the strength it takes to be real, and he gets a dopamine hit from being the one you've chosen to trust. He moves from being a spectator of your life to being a participant in your sanctuary, turning solved mystery into lifetime discovery. A solved mystery is a woman who has no depth beyond a polished exterior. Once a man gets her, the hunt is over. But the vulnerability vacuum ensures you remain a lifetime discovery. Every time you reveal a new layer of your authentic self, you reset the clock of attraction. You are showing him that beneath the fortress of your outer success lies a rich, complex, and beautifully human inner world. By mastering the vulnerability vacuum, you stop trying to win a man and start allowing him to discover you. You aren't doing all the work, you are simply creating the space for him to step up and meet you. And in that space, between your strength and your softness, is where true, unbreakable devotion is born. The selective softness contrasts the high-status art of the iron velvet dynamic. In the world of high-stakes attraction, many women feel trapped between two extremes. They believe they must either be the iron lady, the career-driven, hyper-independent powerhouse, or the damsel, the soft, overly accommodating pleaser. But the most magnetic women on the planet don't choose between these roles, they master the interplay of both. This is the selective softness contrast. It is the strategic shift between your sovereign presence, the iron, and your safe harbor, the velvet, and it is the single most intoxicating signal you can send to a high-value man. The power of the fortress and the sanctuary. To understand this contrast, you have to view yourself as a high-status ecosystem. Most of the time you are in fortress mode. You are the moving train. You have your career, your boundaries, your opinion sovereignty, and your high standards. You do not need a man to complete your life. You are already a legacy of competence. This, exterior creates massive respect. It tells a man that you are a peer of character who cannot be bought, manipulated, or taken for granted. However, respect alone does not create deep, melting devotion. For that, you need the velvet. The selective softness occurs when you choose to lower the drawbridge of your fortress for him alone. It's the moment you transition from the sharp, witty professional into the warm, playful, and affectionate woman who trusts him. This contrast is a massive reward for a man. It tells him the world sees the fortress, but you get the sanctuary image. A cinematic shot of a woman in a sharp, structured blazer, the irons sitting at a table, but leaning her head softly onto her hand with a warm, genuine smile as she looks at her partner, the velvet. The contrast between her professional attire and her soft expression creates the selective softness dynamic. The respect dopamine loop of the shift. The reason this contrast is so powerful is that it triggers a respect dopamine loop. If you are soft to everyone, your softness has no value. It's just your default setting. But if you are a woman of high standards who is selectively soft with him, that softness becomes a sovereign choice. It makes him feel like he has qualified for a part of you that no one else gets to see. When you show him a cute quirk or a moment of unpolished vulnerability after a day of being the boss, his brain receives a massive hit of dopamine. He feels the possessive protector impulse because he wants to guard that softness. He realizes that while you can handle the world on your own, you choose to be soft in his presence. This makes you a lifetime discovery rather than a solved mystery. The sovereign finality. Why contrast is commitment? A man melts mentally when he experiences this contrast because it satisfies both his need for a strong partner and his desire to be a provider. He sees your strength and thinks, I respect her, and then he sees your softness and thinks, I must protect her. An image, a close-up of a woman's hand, which was previously holding a pen with authority, now gently resting on a man's shoulder. The transition from competence to connection is visible in the change of energy. By mastering selective softness, you ensure that you never lose your power in a relationship. You are the architect of the tension. You are the woman who can lead a boardroom, but also the woman who can make him feel like the center of the universe with a single soft look. That contrast is the iron velvet signature of a woman who will never be forgotten. The investment anchor. How small things create lifetime devotion. In the psychology of long-term attraction, there is a massive difference between being impressive and being unforgettable. You can be the most impressive person in the room, perfectly dressed, professionally accomplished, and intellectually sharp, and still be easily replaced. Why? Because perfection is a commodity, but the investment anchor is a monopoly. It is the process by which a man's brain attaches deep emotional significance to the tiny, unpolished quirks that only you possess. These anchors are the hooks that turn a temporary romance into a lifetime discovery. The psychology of micro-specificity. Most people try to build attraction through grand gestures. They think the big vacation or the expensive gift is what binds someone to them. But the masculine brain doesn't anchor to the big things, it anchors to the micro-specifics. An investment anchor is that one specific way you tilt your head when you're confused, the weird happy dance you do when you eat good food, or the specific focus frown you wear when you're working. These aren't flaws, they are authenticity spikes. Because these traits are unique to you, they become the mental bookmarks he uses to categorize your value. When he is away from you, he doesn't just miss a girlfriend, he misses the specific way you crinkle your nose. This creates a vacuum of uncertainty. When you aren't there, he realizes that no other woman can provide that specific emotional flavor you have effectively encarred his dopamine response to your unique sovereign presence. Building the safe harbor. Through routine, the investment anchor works because a respect dopamine loop. Every time you perform one of these cute little things, without self-consciousness, you are showing opinion sovereignty. You are telling him, this is me, unfiltered. For a man who spends his life navigating the high-pressure world of performance, seeing your unpolished anchors signals that you are his safer harbor. He begins to invest his comfort in these quirks. He looks for them. He subconsciously waits for them. These tiny moments become the architecture of his peace. When he sees your unfiltered laugh, it releases the mask of competence he has to wear everywhere else. He isn't just watching you, he is emotionally resting in you. The more anchors you have, the more weight your presence has in his life. You move from being a solved mystery to a woman who is a constant source of new, delightful discoveries. The sovereign finality, why anchors prevent replacement. The reason a man melts mentally over these cute things is that they represent a vulnerability bridge he has successfully crossed. He knows these quirks because he has spent enough time in your sanctuary to witness them. Image a close-up, warm, toned photo of a woman's face in a moment of pure, uninhibited laughter, her eyes crinkling naturally. This visual captures the authenticity spike that serves as an anchor in a man's memory. When you embrace your investment anchors, you stop worrying about being replaced by someone younger or better on paper. You cannot replace an anchor. You can find another polished statue, but you cannot find another woman who makes that specific, ridiculous face when she's thinking. By being unapologetically yourself, you ensure that you are the only one who can fill the space you've created in his heart. You aren't just an option, you are an imperative. The safe harbor signal, the silent promise of emotional security. In the high-velocity world of modern dating, we are often taught that attraction is built on the hunt, the chase, the mystery, and the high-tension friction of two people trying to out-maneuver each other. While tension is the spark, it is not the fuel. For a high-value man who lives his life in the red zone of competition, professional risk, and constant performance, the most intoxicating thing he can find isn't more friction, it is the safe harbor signal. This is the non-verbal communication that your presence is a place where his mask of competence is no longer required. It is the transition from the war room of the world to the sanctuary of your company. The psychology of the masculine decompression. A high-status man operates under a perpetual legacy of competence. He has to be the fixer, the leader, and the provider. This creates a massive amount of internal pressure. Most women inadvertently add to this pressure by auditioning or by demanding constant performance from him. The safe harbor signal is the radical act of selective softness. It is the cute habit of leaning your head on his shoulder, or the way you offer a warm, non-judgmental authenticity spike when he's had a difficult day. Image a cinematic, warm tone shot of a couple sitting in a quiet, dimly lit room. The man has his eyes closed, leaning back, while the woman is simply present beside him, her hand resting gently on his. The atmosphere is one of total decompression and peace. When you provide this signal, you aren't being weak or subservient. You are demonstrating sovereign presence. You are so secure in your own fortress that you have the emotional surplus to offer him a place to rest. This creates a powerful respect dopamine loop. He respects your strength, but he craves your peace. He begins to associate your face, your scent, and your quirks with the feeling of coming home. Lowering the stakes to raise the investment, the cute little things you do, the way you might borrow his oversized hoodie or make a light-hearted joke at your own expense, are actually high-level vulnerability bridges. They signal that the stakes are low in your sanctuary. By lowering the performance pressure, you actually increase his desire to invest. Why? Because a man will always work harder to protect a safe harbor than he will to conquer a fortress. When you act as a non-reactive anchor during his moments of stress, you are showing him that you are a peer of character. You aren't swayed by his temporary moods or the chaos of the outside world. This stability is magnetic. It tells him that no matter how hard the moving train of his life is traveling, he has a stable platform to return to. The result, From option to essential A, solved mystery, offers no rest, only a finished puzzle. But a safe harbor is a lifetime discovery. Every time he returns to you, he finds a new layer of comfort and a new reason to be devoted. Image a close-up of a woman looking at a man with a gaze of pure, non-judging warmth. It is the visual representation of the safe harbor where a man feels he can finally breathe. By mastering the safe harbor signal, you move from being someone he is dating to being the person he cannot live without. You become the quiet center of his world, the one place where he can drop the weight of the world and simply be. In a world of noise, you are the silence that he will spend the rest of his life protecting. The opinion sovereignty factor, the ultimate high status attraction signal in the world of dating. There is a common but fatal mistake, the belief that cuteness is about being small, compliant, or pleasing. We are taught that to be attractive we must be agreeable. But the high status man, the man who operates from a legacy of competence, is not looking for an echo. He is looking for a peer of character. The opinion sovereignty factor is the psychological state of being so grounded in your own reality that you do not require his validation to maintain your joy. It is the art of being cute, not for him, but because you are entirely unbothered by who is watching. The power of the unobserved moment, the most turning on things a woman does are often the ones she thinks are the most embarrassing. It's the way you sing loudly and badly to a song you love, or the way you passionately defend a nerdy hobby with zero irony. These are moments of opinion sovereignty. When you do these cute little things, you aren't performing for his approval. You are simply existing in your own sanctuary. To a man, this is incredibly refreshing. Most of the people he meets are auditioning. They are constantly checking his face for a reaction, adjusting their opinions to match his, and living in a state of performance pressure. When you demonstrate that your happiness is self-sourced, you break the circuit. You signal that you are a moving train with your own destination. This creates a respect dopamine loop. He respects your independence, and he gets a dopamine hit from the sheer authenticity of your spirit. Breaking the solved mystery with self-possession. A solved mystery is a woman whose opinions are easily bought. Once a man knows he can tilt your world with a single look of disapproval, the hunt is over. However, when you hold your opinion sovereignty, you remain a lifetime discovery. You are showing him that while you value his company, you do not need his permission to be yourself. Tramage, a cinematic shot of a woman in a crowded cafe, deeply engrossed in a book, laughing to herself at a page. She is completely unaware of the people around her, including a man nearby, who is watching her with intense curiosity and a look of discovery. She is the sovereign of her own moment. This is where the cute habits become powerful. If you crinkle your nose or make a weird face because you're genuinely amused, and you don't immediately apologize or correct yourself when he notices, you are displaying sovereign presence. You are saying, "This is me." That lack of shame is the ultimate high status signal. It tells him that your fortress of self-worth is unshakable, which makes the selective softness you show him later feel like a true privilege. The result, the shift to true devotion. A man melts for a woman with opinion sovereignty because she is a safe harbor built on a foundation of strength. He realizes he can't control you, which means he can truly trust you. He knows that when you say you like him, it's a real opinion, not a social reflex. Hen image a close-up of a woman's face, looking directly into the camera with a playful, slightly mischievous grin. Her eyes are bright with self-assured joy. She looks like a woman who knows a secret the rest of the world hasn't figured out yet. By mastering the opinion sovereignty factor, you move from seeking love to being a source of it. You aren't a consumer of his validation, you are the architect of your own atmosphere. You teach him that the only way to be part of your world is to respect the queen who rules it. At the end of the day, these cute habits are powerful because they are true. When you stop trying to be a solved mystery and start embracing the tiny, unscripted parts of your soul, you stop being someone he's dating and start being the only woman he can't imagine living without. Perfection is a wall. but your quirks are the vulnerability bridge that actually lets him in. Stay authentic, stay sovereign, and I'll see you in the next video.